Hey guys, so for reading today, you are going to be practicing taking notes. And I'm sure you've taken lots of notes before, but we want to make sure that when we're taking notes, we're not wasting time. Because one of the things that I notice is that there are some people who just naturally do it well. But a lot of people spend too much time writing every single thing down, and that's not useful. And then a lot of people also don't really know what to write down, so they don't write very much at all. And you should be able to find a balance. So today specifically, we're going to be looking at how to take notes from two different sources about the same topic, which is really going to come in handy for our unit that comes up next for reading and for lots of times in life when you're doing some kind of a research project, because ideally when you're learning about something new, either for yourself or for school, you're using more than one source. So today we're going to be looking at these two articles about carving. This one is called The Carver of Grand Isle, and this one is called Teaching Kids to Carve. And these are both nonfiction. Um, this one's more of an article that was written in an online newspaper, and then this one is more of a narrative. So, right off the bat, you can't really skip around. With a text like this, they're not very long. It's really meant to be read from beginning to end. Sometimes you'll encounter really long books, encyclopedias, articles that go on for 27 pages about something. And when you look in a book or an article like that, there's usually some kind of a table of contents to help you find what you want. But when you're looking at something like this, it is important to read the whole thing. And there are different ways to approach notes, and we're going to think about two different ways today. In both ways, though, you have to read both articles from beginning to end. So if I take a look and I say, okay, both of these are about carving, but I'm going to read this one first, and I'm going to take notes on it. I'm going to read this one next, and I'm going to take notes on that. So in my notebook, I would set up a space to take notes about each article. So as I was reading Teaching Kids to Carve, I might skim it first for ideas, or I might not. I might just get started. So if I just get started and I start reading Sweet Potato Faces, I would have thought he was using wood. So I keep reading to myself, and I say, and I think my takeaway from this isn't necessarily Jim Calder. I think that's neat, but I think my takeaway from this is that it hadn't really occurred to me before I read this that kids could carve, because to me it sounds dangerous. But he's saying that it's free and easy. So I keep reading, and maybe I take some more notes about Jim. This one goes on to the back. And I highlight important ideas that I find while I'm reading this one. Then I move on to the next one, and I do the same thing. I read about this one. This one reads more like a story, so I have less to write down. So here, this is how you use a narrative to find facts and details about a true topic for nonfiction. He took his knife. So and here's the thing. In this one, you notice I got all the way down to here before I wrote anything down. In this one, I wrote something down in the first paragraph, because you want to get a feel for things that are going to help you later, not for writing every single thing down. If I want to write every single thing down, I can just reread this. I wouldn't have written down Jim Calder teaches kids to carve. Carving is a win-win situation. Jim Calder enjoys it. he's taught 3,000 children wood carving is free. Like, I wouldn't, like, if that's all right there. What I'm trying to do is unpack what's here and make sense of it by jotting a few key ideas down. So that's one way to tackle it, is to look at it, this article and this article separately. Another way to look at it is to say, okay, I skimmed both of these. I looked at some of the things that I noticed in both. So both of them are about carving. That's pretty obvious from the title. And so maybe I don't set up my notes so that I'm just doing one article at a time. Maybe I set up my notes so as I read them, I'm putting down notes in a certain category. And you should remember from 4th grade that this is called boxes and bullets. So as I skimmed through, realized that both articles talk about the basics of carving, like they tell us how to get started and how to carve. They don't go into anything technical, it's just to get someone interested and started. And then the other thing I noticed is there's a lot of emotion in both of these. They're both really passionate about carving. So I came up with, why should people carve? So then as I'm reading both articles, I can just jot down information from that article that go with this. So if I were to do that, I could look back at this article, and I notice I just love seeing children carve for the first time and watching their eyes light up when they see what they are capable of creating. So I just jot down, kids are capable. You're going to actually read this article. I'm going to skip ahead so that you don't have to watch me read. But he goes on, and he talks about how he uses sweet potatoes to start, because sweet potatoes are softer and easier to carve than wood. So we already had up here that you can use a knife. You can also use other tools, and you'll find out what he says they are. And then you can start with a potato instead of wood. So these are just a few notes that I've gotten from this. So what you're going to do this morning is you're going to read through both of these texts, Teaching Kids to Carve and The Carver of Grand Isle. And you are going to get out a piece of paper and you are going to take notes. You can decide which way you want to take the notes. You can take the notes like this, where you take notes from each story, or you could take the notes like this, where you read both stories, but you're really putting them into categories. Okay? This text does not have any questions that go with it. So when you finish with this one, you can recycle it. And I'll know if you're paying attention to the video because you won't ask what to do with the paper and you'll have recycled it. This one, though, has a few questions at the end. There aren't that many questions. There are, in fact, 5 multiple questions. So you'll read this one, and then you'll answer these questions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Now, what you want to do is take the notes, and what you will turn in will be your notes. Make sure you put your name on the top so I know what you did. And then you will want to turn in this one. Make sure your name is on it, because especially since it's just circles, I can't tell if that's you. Okay. We're actually going to use these articles again tomorrow. So if you don't have them, that's okay, because they'll be online. But just so that you understand, you're going to use your notes tomorrow to help you. Okay, so I'm going to have you turn them in, and then tomorrow we'll pass them back out to you so that you have them to use for your assignment.